What's up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to NBA Crunch Time. I'm your host today, TJ Zwarich, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz, helping me break down the 7-game slate we got going for tonight. 8 on FanDuel, 7 on DraftKings. First up, Taylor Smith. Hey, Bojangles, if you will. How you doing today, Taylor?
Not too bad. Yeah, glad to be back. Third day in a row here on with Tim. Triple T and all that. So glad to be back on Saturday.
Triple T and all that is absolutely right. Tatesville Tides joining us as well. Tim Buell, how you doing, Tim?
Yeah, I'm doing well, TJ. Actually did not play football today for the very first time all year. I don't know. I am looking forward to tomorrow, though. I don't know. It's gonna be crazy tomorrow. I'm pretty excited, like what the outcome is gonna be for football. It's gonna be a crazy week 18, I think.
It does look like it's gonna be a pretty wild week 18, but if I'm being honest, I'm pretty excited. It feels fun. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on what I want to do, and of course, you and I will be kicking things off bright and early tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Grinders live, and then the GPP Final Takes crew will be coming right after. We got Neil, we got Eric, and then leading us right up until lock, we have Crunch Time. We have Britt, we have Will, and we have Beer joining for that one. So we got a really fun time with this Week 18 slate. But first, it's time to talk about basketball. We got an hour-long show today, so we're not going to do the typical Crunch Time format. We'll go game by game, and then after that, we will do a recap of the top cash game plays for DraftKings and FanDuel. Then, of course, we will take some questions. I'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat, and of course, we'll go to the YouTube chat as well. So YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, take your mouse, slide it over, click the like. If you're watching on your phone, click hide chat, and then pop up that like button. We did a visual aid showing people how to do that the other day, and we got like 50 likes in the span of about 8 seconds. So when all the viewers roll in here towards the end of the show, we might have to literally show people how to hit the like button on their phones once again. But I don't mind if that's what it takes. Let's get it done. Tim, what are your thoughts on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the Suns situation, which luckily is one of the first games on the slate. But I mean, they currently have, I think, 3 questionable players: Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, and Oso Ighodaro. I think those are all pretty impactful, especially the Jones and Beal situation. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty important thing. Just touching on FanDuel real quick, because they're playing that 10:30 game. Trae Young and Jalen Johnson are both questionable as well. So I mean that's something to pay attention to too for that particular site. But I mean I think if we see any of these Phoenix guys sit, everything that we talk about until we get that news is going to be out the window, because Phoenix is going to become a really, really strong, some strong plays for Phoenix.
Couldn't agree more. We got the time. So Taylor, I want your kind of overview what your plan is tonight. If I'm not mistaken, both you and I are doing the 20 entry max tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated with in addition to the Phoenix and Atlanta thing, there's Memphis on a back-to-back with questionable guys, Desmond Bain, John Conchar to a lesser extent, and then Kennard's doubtful. They're already without Smart, John Morant, and Santi Aldama, so that complicates things. Luckily, we have a lot of value on the other side of that game, so you can make some pivots if you're, leaving roster spots and things like that. That's what I plan to do. Golden State looks like a good source of value anyway, without Curry, of course, so fine with that. The Atlanta guys all played through Q tags last night. I don't really know what to make of the current Q tags either. They didn't really have to travel, like they're still in LA, going across the town to play the Clippers, so not really sure what to make of that. I'm not leaning into that as heavily as I am with the Memphis thing, but we'll see what happens.
All right, well, let's start getting down into it as we go to the second half of the football game. Chat, you want to let me know if Keaton Mitchell does anything. That would be absolutely fantastic. If he gets on the field and even gets some yards, let me know. Let me start cheering And other than that, I don't want to hear it though. Let's move on to the next one.
I have the under in that game. So if they score, let me know in chat.
Well, we need the updates in chat because we're bringing you free NBA content on a Friday as opposed to watching the game. So all we ask in return is give us some updates and smash
on a Friday,
on a Saturday. Tim, the people knew what I meant.
I thought you were gonna try and Dwight Schrute me. So I wouldn't show up tomorrow for the show.
No, I need you showing up for Grinders Live tomorrow, Tim. I'm not trying to do that show by myself. Come on, that's crazy. Let's start going into the slate. Minnesota and Detroit, the first game. We got a 6-point spread in this one. Minnesota is favored. I don't care about this game at all. If I'm being totally honest, maybe this is the game that maybe I play some Nas Reed. Maybe I play a little Dante DiVincenzo, but I certainly don't feel like I need to. Taylor, start things off with Minnesota. Who do you like here?
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, on FanDuel, it's like Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, like tournament dart throws, and that's kind of it. On DraftKings, the cheap stuff is a little more interesting. You mentioned DiVincenzo. Mike Conley's under 4K, like not amazing in 20 to 23 minutes, but, you know, sub 4K Mike Conley might be okay. But the issue is it's the first game of the night. There's value later on, news we're waiting on. I'm not really eager to lock in a bunch of roster spots in this kind of gross first game. So I don't think it's bad to play Randall in particular. He's the one I have my eye on the most, but not very exciting. Detroit on a back-to-back. Just not a lot here. You're muted.
I knew that too, just like I knew that it was Saturday today. Scott's asking in chat if we're going position by position. And we are not going to do the same typical crunch time format because we're here for an hour. We're here a little extra longer, so we can go a little bit more in depth. And so we're going to go game by game, and then we will review the cash game staples at each position for both sites afterwards. Tim, who do you like on Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the worst games on the entire slate. I am getting to quite a bit of Anthony Edwards and Sims. I think Dante DiVincenzo is okay in terms of value play. I think Nas Reed is okay in like a larger field GPP. I think Jaden McDaniels is all right as well. But really, this whole game, and then on the Detroit side, it's simming quite poorly. So I'm getting the third fewest of the Pistons of any team on the entire slate. Obviously you can always play Cade, but I mean, really, I think in this matchup there's just better spend up options.
Yeah, I X'd out the whole Detroit side out of my lineups, and on the Minnesota side, I have DiVincenzo and Nas there right now, but neither of them are like targets. They're just if they kind of land there, I'm totally okay with playing both of them today. Taylor, is there anybody for Detroit you want to touch on before we move on?
You can always play Cade. I think Tobias is still okay on DK, where he's 5-1 without Ivy. Saw a ceiling last night, so it feels like kind of a chase on a back-to-back in a tougher spot, but still kind of cheap for the role he's going to play without Ivy. So I think you can have Tobias in a player pool, but again, I'm not dying to lock up a bunch of spots in the first game of the night. This first game of the night. I think the other first game of the night is a lot more interesting.
Yeah, Tobias had a great game last game. 16 shot attempts is definitely the thing that kind of stands out. He's maybe not going to play as good of a game every night. That was a ceiling for sure. But the 16 shot attempts, if he's going to be getting that type of usage without Jaden Ivey, we're definitely going to have to pay attention. Michael Knack and Lord King Guru saying that it's going to be a balanced build today that wins, not stars and scrubs. If that is the case, well, I will be certainly not making any money tonight because it's for me. It's I'm going big time stars and scrubs today. We did get Chase Brown ruled out in NFL, so if anyone playing some NFL lineups, Chase Brown out. Get your Khalil Herbert in. Get your Brown out of there. We got Negative Creep, always a great name, hanging out in chat. Asked me what the temperature today is. I switched it to Fahrenheit for everybody. We got feels like minus 15 is what we're in here right now. So with the wind chill about negative 15 Fahrenheit, and while I got my phone open, I might as well show everybody it's a great time to smash the like button. All you got to do is bring up YouTube. If you go to YouTube, look, we're at the top here, the very first option. There we are. But how can I hit the like button, everybody? I see the chat there. There is no like button. All I got to do is hit the little X, hit the like, smash that for us. It's all we ask on a Saturday, because I do know that it is Saturday, of free content. Phoenix and Indy. Should we skip this game until we get the news, or should we?
Beal is in.
Beal's in, yeah.
Oh, perfect timing. I swear, it's like
Jones is
every
out.
single time with these like demonstrations, good vibes happen. Either everybody smash the like button, or now we get all the news for the game that we want to talk about. So we just got Oso Ighodaro and Tyus Jones ruled out, and Bradley Beal will play. If all of those guys were in, I was fully thinking maybe I'm just going to skip the first two games entirely and give myself an extra hour for news. But now that we got Tyus Jones out, I do think that is pretty important. Not as important as Bradley Beal. I think that would have made Durant and Booker look quite a bit better. But with Jones out, I think that does either one of two things when we look at Phoenix. One, it'll make Devin Booker the point guard, and he's going to get a much higher assist rate, a lot more ball handling duties. And two, I think it makes Monte Morris a very, very strong value play on tonight's slate. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, assuming that he's the one that starts, they could just put Booker as the point and maybe start Grayson Allen. I think that's at least possible.
I think that's even probably more likely, but I still think I will want Monte Morris off the bench.
Yeah. So definitely this is definitely a good thing for Booker. Definitely a good thing for Monte Morris, whether he starts or comes off the bench. I think losing Ighodaro, maybe Plumlee plays a little bit, like maybe a couple minutes more also. So yeah, this is a pretty significant piece of news. I was also going to be skipping the 2 7:00 games if we didn't, if we got all the Suns in. So now I have to readjust my single entry team. We'll see what the projections team says. I'd like to see what this does to Booker mainly. And then and Durant too, if it does anything for Durant as well. So I'm going to check out our projections log, which is a premium feature here at RotoGrinders, which is very, very helpful when news like this happens. So yeah, I mean, I think Monte Morris might end up being a very, very strong value.
Taylor, who do you like on the Phoenix side?
Yeah, aside from Morris and Plumlee, who I think is okay on DK, where you can play a couple of centers, I kind of like KD in this matchup, regardless of Beal being in. Sub 10K, the minutes are through the roof with him. FanDuel is only 9-2. Like, it's kind of a little bit light. The matchup's good. The game total's high. The spread is tight. I just really like the spot for KD. Like, Indiana, not a very imposing defensive team, especially inside. Not that he's a post big or anything, but it is part of his game. So I think KD is a pretty strong spin that's not really going to attract a lot of attention now that Beal is in, especially. So I'm happy to go a little bit over on him, not like some kind of conviction play that I'm going to have like 60% of when everyone else has 8%. But I do think KD has some profit potential there.
I think my biggest guy that I'm going to be going heavy on this in this game is Monte Morris, and I kind of hope he doesn't start so that everybody doesn't go heavily on him. He's only $3,300 on DraftKings. As you can see, with Tyus Jones, in 19 minutes, 16 minutes, 17, 20, 15, he's getting mid-teens minutes in all of these games anyways. And so now without Trey Jones, if we can get up to 24 to 26, up to 28 maybe minutes off of the bench, I think Monte Morris is maybe now my favorite value play on the whole slate. On the Indiana side of things, Taylor, who do you have interest in here? Because it's certainly the less exciting side, but you can still play Halliburton. If you really want, you could still play Siakam or Turner. And Nembhard's actually been playing better lately.
Yeah, my pool only has those four. Not a super exciting side, like you said, but Phoenix hasn't really been imposing defensively either. So if you want a little like mini stack, 1 or 2 Suns with a pacer, I think that's okay. I think Siakam would be my favorite on DK, and then it would be Turner on FanDuel. 6.6 on FanDuel is a little bit cheaper. I guess not cheaper than DK, but cheap in general for him. Hasn't shown a massive ceiling, but I think it's okay without Nurkic on the Phoenix side. Matchup's pretty good against Plumlee. I'm okay with Nembhard too on DK, like where all the Warriors are getting ownership. He's kind of slipping through the cracks at 5-1. Pretty stable role, pretty good spot. I think Nembhard is kind of undervalued from a value standpoint. Undervalued from a value standpoint.
Yeah. Who do you like on, pardon me, Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, we finally saw a huge game from Tyrese Halliburton. Certainly wouldn't mind maybe chasing that in large field GPPs. He's only 8,300, so I don't mind going back to him in large field. I don't mind Andrew Nembhard at 5,100. He's got point guard, shooting guard eligibility. I think he's a pretty decent value. This is a pretty good game total in this game, and it should be a pretty tight spread as well. So I don't hate this game from a DFS perspective. Not sure if I would waste the center spot on Miles Turner or not. I guess you can, but I probably wouldn't get too overweight the field if he's going to be like around 10%, which is what he's showing now. I might just match the field with him. But yeah, I think it's mainly for me going back to Halliburton or doing Nembhard at the shooting guard spot.
We got the projections update here. Not a lot changing for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Not actually much for Grayson Allen either. We are projecting Monte Morris to start at the point guard position. I'm with you, Tim. I do think there's a very good chance it is Grayson Allen that steps into the start here with Devin Booker running point. I do kind of hope that's the case to bump Morris's ownership down, but I'm going to like him a ton either way. He's projecting. He's not as great on FanDuel now. He's still solid there, but for over 20 fantasy points at 3.3 on DraftKings, that looks pretty darn great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that at 3.3, that's a really good value. So I'm just pulling up the new projections right now myself. Yeah. So yeah, Monte Morris
really good on DraftKings now too.
I was gonna say Plumlee got a pretty nice uptick as well. So yeah, I think Plumlee and Monte are definitely viable in any format.
Agreed there. I think I am going to put Halliburton back into the pool here just because he is nice and cheap on DraftKings. And then I'm going to make a rule that if I'm playing Tyrese Halliburton today, I want to play Durant or Booker in that lineup as well. Because I do think even though the projection didn't change much for Booker, I do think there's a lot more upside without Tyus Jones. I think he could see a lot more ball handling going his way here in this game. Next up, we got New York at Chicago. A big total in this one. New York's favored by 5.5. Miles McBride listed as questionable, but Brunson still, I was going to say off the injury report, but he still listed as probable. We're fully expecting him to give this one a go. Taylor, we'll go to you first for this one. Who do you like on in New York, Chicago?
Yeah, it's mostly New York stuff. The matchup for them is a lot better than the one they had last night against OKC. Chicago is still running at the second fastest pace in the league. Not a lot of defense there. I think it's a smash spot for Towns. I think it's a smash spot for Josh Hart. Josh Hart's expensive, over 7K, but the minutes are unbelievable. Like he's played 45-ish in the last 3 games. It's just insane what they do with him, but he's apparently up for it. Even on the back-to-back, I'm not nervous about that. Pace should suit him well. I think he's kind of sneaky on this slate at his expensive salaries. Brunson and Anunoby and Bridges are not really on my radar as much. It's kind of just Hart and Towns. On the Chicago side, there's really nothing. Like I think Lonzo Ball is okay as a punt, mostly on DK with Dosunmu out, but kind of a rough spot for them. But I don't hate, Josh Giddey as a run back if you are playing a couple of Knicks on the other side. I don't mind that. the game does have a fairly tight spread, but the Chicago value is just really not there overall, especially with guys like Vucevic and Levine, not really on my radar.
Yeah, I X'd out all of Chicago completely. They're not going to be in my pool. On the New York side of things, though, love the Josh Hart call. Wrote him up as my favorite contrarian play on DK today after I was considering Towns, but I think you did that in the expert survey.
Yeah.
And so I pivoted to Josh Hart. So same page on that one. I like Brunson here too. Those are the only 3 Knicks I'm getting to, Tim. How about you?
Yeah, the Knicks are a really good contrarian team today. I mean, the Bulls are just so bad defensively. And we know the Knicks starters play huge minutes. So, I mean, this is a really, really good spot at next to no ownership, probably even less now with this Phoenix news. So, yeah, love Cat. I think he'd be my favorite out of the bunch. Jalen Brunson at 8,900. We know he has a ceiling. And then any of these wing guys, I think you can get pieces to, like any of the starters. I think you can get overweight the field too. It doesn't take a lot to get overweight these Knicks. So if I was playing a portfolio of teams, I most certainly would be trying to get overweight New York today.
I just did my first set of build, and wow, do I really like the way it looks. 80% Monte Morris. Guess who my next 2 highest owned players are?
Harden Towns,
Wembanyama and Jokic. So it goes 80 Morris, 70% Jokic, 60% Wemby, 60% Buddy Hield, 40% Wiggins, 35 Kuminga, 30 Jokic, 30 Moody. I like that quite a bit. Get underweight on Schroeder, embrace the rest of the chalk. Is kind of how that set is going. We'll see if we hold on to it going in as we get closer to lock here. Portland and Milwaukee. We did just get news that all the Milwaukee guys are going to play. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton. They're fully good to go, so we got nothing to worry about here. Portland's still going to be without Jeremy Grant. Tim, who do you like in Portland and Milwaukee? And how do you prioritize Giannis amongst the other studs?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Bucks get absolutely rolled by Brooklyn the other day, and they're 12-point favorites at home. It should be a smash spot for Giannis. I have absolutely no issue with him. Like, if you want to pivot from Jokic or Wemby, I don't mind that. Obviously, he's always a good play, right? Like, and I don't really have any interest in any of the other Milwaukee plays. I think that Jokic and Wemby are going to be pretty significantly higher owned than Giannis. So I think Giannis makes for a good pivot at a very, very similar price tag. But I mean, I just love Jokic and Wemby so much. It's hard for me to say that I won't be playing Giannis in single entry. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, that's kind of my same thought process as well. How about you, Taylor?
Yeah, this is a hard game to like overall. I was just looking at my stuff, and Middleton is popping like big time for me, which is a bit alarming, but I guess the matchup for him is pretty good. I don't hate it. On FanDuel, he's cheaper than he is on DraftKings, so that's worth noting. I think he's an okay play. Giannis is always someone you can play, but like Tim was saying, like Wemby and Jokic look great. Towns looks great. KD, I think, looks great. So he's kind of getting squeezed. Not personally getting to him a whole lot, which is frightening, but kind of is what it is. Not too concerned about Dame's revenge game. I'm not sure how much ill will he has for Portland at this point. So I think all 3 of those guys are playable. No one else on the Milwaukee side is in my pool, though.
I always like those more when they're in Portland, or like those situations where it's like it's not necessarily revenge, but it's a homecoming kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That I have a bit more interest in. But like Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp, Denny Avdia, I think all those guys are fine. Avdia's been priced up, but I still think they're reasonable. Anybody else on Portland you want to get to, Tim, before we move on?
I'm not really getting to any Portland either in Sims or in optimizers. So really not really huge on Portland at all.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one. We are going to be huge on this game. It is Denver and San Antonio. This one's my favorite one on the slate. 3.5-point spread. We just saw this game the other day. Only difference is Jeremy Sohan is listed as questionable. If he plays, that bumps down all the Spurs value plays. If he's out, we should see something very, very similar. Rashad Bateman just scored a TD. And it is 21-3 Browns. Get me those backups in there, Ravens. Take those starters out of the game. You already got Zay Flowers hurt. You don't need anyone else. You got the Browns aren't going to come back. You got it sewn up. Let's get those backups in there. Denver, San Antonio, 3 points here. 3.5 point spread. Sorry. Who do you like in this one, Taylor?
Yeah, we did get Sohan on track to play, so we don't have to worry about all that San Antonio value necessarily on this slate. But obviously, the headliners are Wemby and Jokic. Jokic is a little bit cheaper on FanDuel than he was last night, so a little bit easier to get to. Wemby's still more useful over there because you can play him at power forward, and he's cheaper, of course. So happy to play them both. I would like to play them both together. I'm getting to a lot of them individually. I don't think I'm getting to a lot of them in the same lineup, as appealing as that sounds, although it might be more viable now that we have Monty Morris and things like that. So if you can make it happen, it sounds pretty good. Still like Devin Vassell again, played quite well last night in the exact same matchup. I think he's a good play tonight. Also, not super psyched about Chris Paul on a back-to-back, but on FanDuel where you kind of have to find 2-point guards, I think it's easier to get to him. The secondary Denver pieces like Murray and Westbrook and Brown, Porter are all fine, but I'm not super excited about any of them either. Russ always has the upside for triple doubles, but with everybody in, except for Aaron Gordon, of course, it's not super likely. He's not exactly cheap either. So it's kind of just the stars. And then I like Vassell on the San Antonio side.
All right. Wemby and Jokic are going to be top priorities for me today. My second highest owned guys after Monte Morris today. Tim, you're only playing one lineup. You going to try and jam in both these two, or are you going to prioritize one over the other?
I am actually going to jam in both these guys now that we have Morris. So it's actually really easy to do. You don't have to sacrifice that much to get them in. So I am going to be playing both. And if I was to get another piece of this game, it would be definitely Vassell on San Antonio. I don't hate Westbrook at 6'6". I mean, he could certainly get a triple-double, and at 6'6", that's really solid. So I wouldn't hate getting to Westbrook in large field GPPs. I was getting to a lot of Michael Porter Jr., but that was before the Phoenix news. So I'll have to rerun Sims to see. But I was getting into a lot of MPJ beforehand. He's only 6,300. I don't hate him either. But really, the priorities to this game are the two mega studs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Those are the guys that I'm getting to by far the most. Every single build that I do is getting above 60% for both of them. Even when I just adjust how many different value plays that I want, I'm still making sure that I get an absolute ton of those two today. Taylor, any final thoughts here before we move on?
I think you can always play Sohan, just kind of a stat stuffer, and no one's going to be on him coming off the injury, but that's about it. The secondary Spurs lose a lot of luster. Like Stephon Castle was a core play on DK, and now he's not someone I'm going to play at all. So be careful with the secondary Spurs guys.
Yeah, I bumped all my exposure down to them, and so I'm okay with getting, like, if I land at Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, Stephon Castle as a last piece, just because all of them are so cheap, I'm fine with it. Same with like Julian Champagny, but not anybody I feel like I need to get to now by any means, especially with the other value we have on the slate. Too many other players that I have interest in here. Next one on the slate, we have Utah and Miami. Miami has suspended Jimmy Butler at least 7 games for being detrimental to the team here. So that makes things look a lot better on the Miami side of things. Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo popping a bit, plus lots of value here. Quite highly owned, but one of the lower owned plays is actually my favorite here of the whole bunch on Miami. Who do you like in this game, Tim?
Oh, well, I was getting to a bunch of Hero on FanDuel. I thought he was a pretty decent play over there. But now I'm getting off of him on FanDuel because of this some new value that's opened up. I guess I don't mind Duncan Robinson as like a cheapy flyer. Jovic is a pretty interesting play, I think, at 4,600. And I don't mind Bam, but I just like Wemby and Jokic so much more.
Taylor, how about you?
Yeah, I like Hero quite a bit. It's just kind of he's getting squeezed, like Tim was saying. There are other guys to pay for. He's pretty expensive. Utah is a great matchup there. They're the worst defense in the NBA, so it kind of feels bad having nothing from Miami. I think the value guys are just naturally easier to get to. We don't have a lineup, of course. I would like Jaime Jaquez to be in it. I don't know if he will be because they shuffle it all the time, but he's someone I want to play a lot if he's starting because he's good per minute. Minute should be fairly secure with Jimmy suspended. Otherwise, Robinson's fine. I think you can take a shot on Khalil Ware as a punt center on DK. Filled it up in the last game. A little bit of a chase, but it seems like they want to give him some minutes now. If you're playing like a 150 set, I would maybe have him included, but nothing like single entry or 3 max. That's a kind of wild take. But
I like the idea of him in general. I just don't know I can do it on this slate when we have
center
so
only
many centers that is just like, damn, these centers look good today. It's like,
yeah.
If I get 25 from a 3.6 center, is that even enough? Obviously, he went 10x last game, but it's still pretty scary.
There's a lot of opportunity cost, so not recommending it, but I think it's something you can give a shot to. Otherwise, like I said, Jaquez is someone I want. If he's not starting, I'll probably run away though.
Sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to. I might do an Alec Burks, Cattell Ware lineup.
I like it.
Just play the super duper cheapies, but then it's like, where do I spend? I guess I could do Giannis there since I can only play one other center. Any other final thoughts on this one, gentlemen?
Ryan Dunn is starting, and Monty Morris is not, and neither is Grayson Allen.
Well, that's literally the one scenario that makes me not like Monte Morris as much.
Yeah, it's Booker, Beal, Dunn, Durant, Plumlee. So
that's the one scenario that makes me not like Monte Morris quite as much because it means it still gives the opportunity for his minutes not to increase because Grayson Allen could be getting alternate backup point guard minutes as well.
Yeah, that makes things.
That's really bad for Morris. That's really bad.
I'm still going to play him, but maybe not in 80% as I was.
Yeah, probably scale it back a little bit.
Does it matter that Fontecchio is out also? Because, I mean, there's a chance. But, like, we have Beasley projected to start. I would assume there's got to be a chance that Thompson starts, right?
I thought that last night, and then they put Wendell Moore in there. So
I don't think they're going to do that again. I don't think
they will either.
Right.
But you never know what they're going to do.
Yeah,
I guess he's going to be pretty interesting, of course.
Yeah, true. Right. And then not only did he come off the bench last game, but came off the bench to play 16 minutes or whatever he did. I played 0%. So I was happy about that, but
yeah.
All right, gonna throw him in the pool. Definitely gonna lower my Monte Morris exposure now. Let's see. Do we want to get Dunn into any lineups? 4,100. That's not a great price tag for him, but he probably still has a ceiling. Gonna bump his minutes up a little bit and see if I get to any Ryan Dunn. We'll throw him in the pool. If we don't get there, we don't get there. That is totally fine. Memphis and Golden State. We're still waiting for news in this one. We have Desmond Bane listed as
starting.
Yeah, Thompson's starting. So, I mean, he's going to get a big minutes boost, I would assume now.
We will, we are right on the money for talking about something and then getting the news right as we're talking about it. Just off the top of your head, Taylor, what do you think that'll do to his minutes projection?
Last night or yesterday, we had him projected all day to start, and then we were at like 28 or 26 minutes. I think I would be more conservative, 24 to 26, but even that, I assume he's still quite cheap. That would probably be enough to get him on the radar, which is unfortunate because we didn't want to play Pistons, but here we are playing Pistons. Yes, exactly. Like I was saying, we got Memphis and Golden State. John Morant already ruled out, but we are still waiting on Desmond Bane, John Conchar. We got Kennard and a couple other guys ruled out, but they're not quite as important.
what are we doing here, Tim, on the Memphis side of things? Because if Bain and Concha are out, that's all of a sudden 50 plus minutes to find throughout the rest of this team.
Yeah, if Bain were to miss, I mean, we've got to be firing up Scottie Pippen. It's at 6,300. I also really like Brandon Clark at 3,400. We have him projected to start right now over Edie. So if that were to hold, I would absolutely love to get Brandon Clark. He's power forward, center eligible. And then Jaren Jackson, at least on FanDuel, he's a little expensive on DK. But at least on FanDuel, Jaren Jackson is a really strong play already, even with those guys in. Is that my mic? Is that my microphone?
Is what your microphone? I don't hear anything.
Okay.
Probably me. I'll mute when I'm not talking because I'm the one without headphones. So I'll mute when I'm not talking.
Yeah, so I really do like Brandon Clark quite a bit, especially if he starts over Edie. I think he's a really strong value play, even with those guys currently in. Jalen Wells had a really, really strong game last night. I wouldn't expect that to necessarily continue every night, but if Bain were to miss, maybe he'd get a little bit more usage, and he's pretty affordable, and he gets shooting guard small forward, and he's 4,700, so I wouldn't hate that as part of as like a value play for Memphis.
You're muted again.
I don't want to echo while I'm talking either, guys. No Steph Curry for the Golden State side of things, and so we got a lot of value there. Kuminga looks great. Draymond looks great. Wiggins looks great. TJD, Schroeder, Buddy Hield, Moody, all of them looking pretty solid. Moody more on DraftKings only. But this is also going to be the highest owned team on the whole slate.
Yeah, I'm not as into TJD just because center. I think on FanDuel he's power forward, so you can play him there. But on DraftKings, like where all the other centers look so good, I'm not super psyched about it. But he's cheap enough to consider. I think I prefer Plumlee among those kind of punt centers, but he's okay. Yeah, Kuminga, Schroeder, Draymond. Don't love playing Draymond in general, but pretty good spot. Memphis plays at the fastest pace in the league. That should suit him pretty well. More playmaking duty, of course, without Steph. And then the usage is going to go to Wiggins. It's going to go to Kuminga, Schroeder, maybe a little bit to Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's kind of a scary play. He's been horrible lately, but if he starts, I think he's 3-4 on DK, 4-1 on FanDuel. It's going to be hard to get away from him. So be aware of what you're doing when you build with all these Warriors. Like I probably don't want Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, and Draymond all in the same lineup, for example. But there are certainly ways to build that aren't going to make you too chalky with this team.
Tim, how about you? What are you doing with Golden State today in your one lineup?
Yeah, I'm definitely locking in Schroeder and Kuminga. I'm not 100% sure what to do with Wiggins and Hield. Probably going to play one of those two. Like the current RG Optimal has 5 Golden State. I don't think I'm going to do 5 Golden State in one team. I'd probably max it out at 3. Well, like I said, with Schroeder and Kuminga being 2 of them, unsure on the third one. I'm leaning Hield, but he'd have to start for me to play him. And we got a question in chat about Moody. I don't think he's that bad for GPPs. We have projected for like close to 17 fantasy points and only 10% ownership at 3,100. That's a pretty solid play. So if you're playing large field GPPs, I don't mind Moody. What do you guys think about Moody?
Same page here. I think because of the amount of spend ups I want to play on this slate, Moody and Buddy Hield might end up actually being my 2 favorites on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't make it easier to pivot away from Monty Morris because Moody is like the same price.
Yeah,
I'm still going to play a ton of Monty Morris, but less than before. I'm going to get like 50%, I think. Like if he gets any sort of minutes increase, he's good. He's a fine 5x type of play for his salary every night anyways. So if he gets any type of minutes increase, I think that should be more than enough for him to smash that price tag. I still think he gets upward of 20 fantasy points.
He should see like 20-ish minutes, I would think, even without Grayson Allen or him starting. So it should be okay too, but kind of makes me nervous.
Yeah, definitely not the absolute smash play it was before. I think I'm going to put him in for 22 minutes is what I'm going to project him for now here. I still haven't actually put my lineup set in, so if hopefully I don't forget to do that before the lineups themselves come out. But we're almost through all the games here. We got one left on FanDuel. We're done with the DraftKings slate. As soon as we're done going through the game by game here, we will recap the top plays for cash games on both FanDuel and DraftKings very quickly, and then we will of course take some QQs. I'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. I'll go to the YouTube chat after that. YouTube, make sure you are smashing that like button for us. Atlanta and the Clippers, we still have Jalen Johnson and Trae Young questionable. They were as well yesterday. Now it's the second half of the back-to-back, though, so does that make them more questionables or less? Because that we know that it was they played yesterday. But Tim, you playing a single entry on FanDuel today? How are you going to handle this game?
Yeah, right now I'm not getting to any of it. Makes me a little bit nervous. I'm hoping that Young and Johnson both play through their Q tags. That's my lean right now. I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to get to either one of those two guys. But right now it's a fade for me. And then with Kawhi back, the Clippers are a fade for me also. So definitely have no interest in the Clippers. Kawhi is appropriately priced at 7,500, a little bit too expensive for the amount of minutes that he should play. We have him around, I think, like 24. So I'm not going to be playing Kawhi. I'm not getting to any Clippers. I think they're a pretty easy fade on the slate.
Couldn't agree more. And obviously Atlanta, they get a lot nicer if some of these plays get ruled out. But the Clippers still not a very good matchup. And it is second night of the back-to-back. What are you doing here, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm pretty much fading it too. I think Zoo is okay on FanDuel, just kind of as a YOLO mid-range center. Don't think Kawhi for 20 minutes is going to eat into him too much. So I think it's fine. But the Atlanta stuff, like if any of those guys sit, they're probably just getting blown out. I would assume in this spot, which they could get blown out in anyway. So not really excited about that value, even if it pops up. Plus, if it doesn't, there's nothing else to pivot to. That's the last game of the night, 2 hours after everything else. So you're kind of stuck, and it's not a great game environment to begin with. So it's not something I'm planning on making a priority.
Yeah, I'm not playing on FanDuel, but I think that would be the same case for me as well. Guys in my pool I didn't get to are Halliburton and Durant, and so I am worried about that. I feel like maybe I should just throw in one extra team that has in a single entry somewhere that's like a Halliburton Durant mini stack, but didn't get to any Dunn, didn't get to any Halliburton, didn't get to any Durant. I'd want to change that up a lot more if it wasn't the first game of the slate. That makes me feeling more like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I can skip it because I do still want to wait a little bit on these ones. Anyways, Taylor, you do core plays, articles, you help with projections. Tim, you're a cash game extraordinaire. We couldn't have a better team to take the people through some cash cores today. We will start on DraftKings. Looking at the SimLabs tool, Dennis Schroeder at point guard is the highest optimal rates of anyone. Who are you playing here in cash, Tim?
We're talking DK or FanDuel. Sorry.
I guess typically we go FanDuel first, so maybe we can we'll start with FanDuel.
Yeah, so FanDuel, I mean, you're definitely playing Dennis Schroeder at one of your point guard or shooting guard spots. He's a cash game must. I think Tyler Hero is firmly in play. He's also point guard, shooting guard. I really like him quite a bit. I think he's pretty close to a cash game must. 8K for him is a really nice price tag. So I think he's a really solid play. Buddy Hield, if he starts, I think is fine. He's another point guard, shooting guard. If we got the Memphis news, Scottie Pippen would be a really standout play. He's already a good play. He's point guard only. He's definitely viable in any format. But he would become like a really, really amazing play if we got Bane out. So there's some merit to maybe locking in Scottie Pippen in the point guard spot because he's already a decent play, and then he would become an absolute smash. I got a question about Rozier. He's popping in some optimals that I'm running. I'm personally not playing him in single entry or cash, but I wouldn't fault anybody if they wanted to get to him in single entry. I probably would not play him in cash games.
Taylor, any qualms about that at who the cash game play is at point guard? And if not, take us to shooting guard.
No, I don't have any issue with that. Shooting guard, said we're doing FanDuel, right?
Yeah. FanDuel cash shooting guard. Just like we don't have to go through the full position by position, just like who the cores are at each position.
Yeah. Vassell is one on my radar. I don't think he's a core play or anything. Schroeder and Buddy Hield are the closest things probably at this position. I think you can play Duncan Robinson in cash just because he's stable enough without Jimmy. And Jaquez, if he starts, is shooting guard on FanDuel, so keep an eye on that. But otherwise, that's probably it.
Yeah, I like Jaquez quite a bit if he starts. Tim, any disagreements at shooting guard? If not, take us to small forward.
Yeah, definitely no disagreements at shooting guard. Small forward, it's definitely Kuminga. He's projected to play 32 minutes. Should be a really, really solid game environment. So I would definitely start with Kuminga. I'd probably play Wiggins as well in cash.
Would your four Warriors in cash be Wiggins, Kuminga, Hield, and Schroeder?
As long as Hield starts. But yeah. It would be, but I also like Trace Jackson Davis a ton on FanDuel because he's power forward eligible. He's a little bit tougher, on DK, but you can also play him at FanDuel on DK. So he's got to be in consideration over there. Probably the safest for are Schroeder, Jackson Davis, Kuminga, and Wiggins. That's probably a safer cash game core for that Golden State situation. So that's probably the most optimal thing to do. The only other person that I would add to the small forward conversation is Jalen Wells and Duncan Robinson if you really need somebody that's cheap.
All right, Taylor, would you play Kuminga and Wiggins and TJD? Are you getting all three of them in cash? And which ones where would you play each of them?
Yeah, I probably would. I think you can play Wiggins and Kuminga at small forward and then TJD definitely power forward just because center has so much good stuff you're going to want. Definitely all fine for cash. Kuminga, I mean, you can play him anywhere, but I think that's the arrangement I would go. I would just probably fill the small forward spots with those Warriors and then TJD at power forward.
Are you looking for your other one? I think it's basically a spend all the way up to Wemby, or you go to Jaren Jackson. Would that be correct? It's dependent on your build.
Yeah, there's no need to pay all the way up. To be honest, we'll blow out. Those two, I think Jovic, if he starts, is someone you can consider, but not very exciting. And then Jackson, yeah. And Draymond is viable, but not necessarily a cash staple.
Center position, Tim, are you going to try and play all of Jaren Jackson Jr., Wembanyama, and TJD? Are you a Jokic guy? How are you handling center in cash?
I'm probably going to be playing Wemby. And then I might play Wemby at power forward, then play maybe like a Mason Plumlee in cash. Plumlee's rated out super strong on FanDuel now. I think he's the top points per dollar play in projections at center. So I don't mind Plumlee. If you go a different route and maybe don't play Hero, you can play Bam, I think, in cash also. But in terms of like priority spend up options, I am going to be playing Wemby in cash versus Jokic. But I mean, if you want to play Jokic, go for it, obviously.
DraftKings, I think it's going to be a pretty similar story here. Taylor, feel free to start us off at the point guard, but I mean, we're playing Schroeder in cash for sure. Are there any of these other point guards you would want to maybe get into your cash lineup at a flex or guard position?
Schroeder's kind of the staple. Monty Morris, not so much now that he's not starting. It's probably just Schroeder. I think you can play Hero there also if you have money to spend, but I'd prefer to spend it elsewhere personally. Guys like Murray and Westbrook, not exciting. So it's probably Schroeder and maybe DiVincenzo if you want someone else who's cheap with an okay role, but that's one of the first games of the night, so probably not for me.
Yeah, with that news we're still waiting on, with Scottie Pippen potentially being cash viable. If we get Desmond Bane ruled out, I think we probably want to avoid the Monte Morris, the Dante DiVincenzo in cash, just in case we want to play Schroeder and Pippen side by side together there. I guess you could do Pippen at point guard and Schroeder at shooting guard, Tim, because he does have eligibility there. How do you want to handle that? Because $3,400 Hield, I feel like that's someone you want to play in cash, even if he doesn't start when he's that cheap.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely go down to Hield if he doesn't start in on DK at 3,400. But still, he does make me a little bit nervous if he doesn't start. But I think he's okay. We brought Monte Morris down to 24 minutes, so probably not a cash game play, but wouldn't hate that GPPs. But Schroeder is definitely your priority at guard. And then I guess I don't mind getting to Tyler Hero even on DK. I think that's about it for me there.
All right, Taylor, small forward position. This is kind of where we start getting into the, do I play Kuminga? Do I play Wiggins? Do I play both? And the answer is, I mean, yes, you go Wiggins and small forward, probably Kuminga at power forward.
Yeah, I think Kuminga might only be power forward anyway, so that kind of makes the decision for you. Michael Porter Jr. is someone you can consider just because he's cheap on DK, but not a priority. Vassell, Avdia are okay as well, but yeah, it's kind of Warriors, just Wiggins and Kuminga, and move right along.
Tim, Kuminga at power forward, move on from there in cash?
Yeah, you're definitely playing Kuminga at power forward. Definitely getting exposure to him in cash games 100%. Probably going to be playing Wiggins as well. Wiggins is he small forward only, or is he small forward power forward?
He's both.
Okay, yeah. So you're playing Wiggins at small forward, and then you're playing Kuminga at power forward.
I think Draymond is somewhat viable in cash too on DraftKings, where he's cheaper than he is on FanDuel, and also you're not limited to just 4 Warriors. That makes it a little easier to get there. We know Tim is going on the Wemby over Jokic route tonight. Taylor, how about you? What are you doing in cash at center?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same wagon. Obviously, you can play them both if you want to make some punts, but Wemby just being cheaper, I think, kind of makes the decision for me. But both are great. Beyond that, you're looking at TJD again on DraftKings, pretty good value. Brandon Clark, like Tim was saying, if you want to go all the way down to 3-4, if he starts over Edie again, I think that's pretty good. And probably not Giannis, but Giannis is always someone you can feel good about landing on.
All right, let's get some questions in here. We got about 5 minutes till lock. Get your QQs in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord and the YouTube chat, and make sure to get your lineups in here before things lock up. Going to Discord here first. Naz Reid or Jalen Wells in a DK GPP, Tim? You got to choose now since that Minnesota game is first.
I'd go Wells.
Alex the Don says, thanks for everything, Roto fellas. I'm landing on Ryan Dunn and Mike Conley as last pieces in DK cash. It means that I can get Wemby and Jokic. Are you okay with that, Taylor?
I think it's okay. Conley's super cheap. Like, Conley's kind of the epitome of a cash guy, kind of stable and not a super high ceiling, but probably not going to ruin you. Ryan Dunn, I'm not convinced about, but he did play a ton of minutes in the last game, so I think it's okay if you land there and you really like the lineup. Yeah,
Dunn is $4,100. I would rather go Thompson over Dunn if you don't have Thompson in there already. Although I would like Jaime Jaquez better than both of them at just 200 more. If I would be tempted to just do like a Monte Morris instead of Mike Conley in that spot to have an extra $500, and then just play somebody in the later game so I could hopefully get a Jaquez or somebody like that over Ryan Dunn. And then if not, you'll have the salary for a Jake LaRavia, Jalen Wells, somebody like that in the Memphis game. So I would rather go, instead of Conley, maybe all the way down to Monte Morris so that you can have those options and you don't have to play Ryan Dunn in cash. DKGPP, Tim, Rozier and Pippen or Schroeder and Sharp?
I'd go Schroeder and Sharp.
Came in late. Can you give me your top 3 GPP pieces for FanDuel GPPs, Taylor? So maybe your favorite spend up, favorite value, and then a third anybody.
So favorite spend is going to be Wemby, but I really like KD also as kind of a secondary, slightly cheaper spend. I'm getting a lot of Middleton, like I said. I think he's an okay value on FanDuel, and then someone cheap. In spite of the ownership, it's got to be either Schroeder or Buddy Hield, I would think.
All right, lightning round here. 2 minutes left till lock. Still got a few questions. DK Cash, Tim. If Moody starts over Hield, is Moody Cash viable?
Yeah.
If Sohan sits, are we locking in Big Body Johnson? No. Sohan is expected to play, but also he wouldn't be a lock play. He'd be just a solid, good value play. A lot of Moody questions. We think he is solid as is, but if he starts, we like him a lot. He becomes cash viable. What do you think about Terry Rozier today, Taylor?
I'm not super into it. I think someone like Scoot is someone I prefer in that range. Terry Rozier is not really on my radar.
What is the updated projection on Asar Thompson? It is 24 minutes and 21 fantasy points on DraftKings. On FanDuel, we're looking at 21 fantasy points again. So solid drafting value on DraftKings, not so much on FanDuel. Are we fading the first 2 games and waiting on news? We certainly can. There are value plays like a Morris or a Dunn that are viable, a Naz Reid or a DiVincenzo, but certainly nothing wrong with fading those first games completely and waiting for news on the last one. In Hoosiers Hang Banner says 6 times did TJD and Edie play against each other in college, and they each won 3. So that should be a fun little matchup. B Champ says they're new to DFS. Can someone explain what moves the point line on DFS? Well, just how much people score every night. So the cash line is just strictly dependent on the lineups that everybody else you're competing against has. The higher the scoring lineups, the higher the cash line will be. Taylor, what do you think about Christian Brown? Played 43 minutes last night.
I think he's okay as a secondary tournament play, but not someone you're looking to in the cash, or probably not a single entry either.
Yeah, I'm playing my lineups right now as if Desmond Bane is out. And so the way I'm looking at it is, since I'm loading up on Memphis guys, I'll probably get to somebody like Brown if I have to pivot off of those Memphis guys like Laravia, like Wells, because Ponchar plays and Desmond Bane plays, things like that. I think we have nailed it for all the questions. Last one, DK GPP, favorite utility position, 6K or less, Tim?
You said that was for DK?
Yeah. So Sharp, Wiggins, assuming
probably go Draymond.
I agree.
Yeah, Draymond or Wiggins for sure if you don't already have them in there. If you are already loaded up on Warriors, then I think Shaedon Sharp would be the guy. That has done it for NBA Lock. Somebody asked Hawkes or Castle. I would say Hawkes if he starts, Castle if he doesn't. But even still, Hawkes totally fine over Castle in that scenario. We just like him a lot. If he starts, just fine. If he doesn't, Mr. Richard asking if Dean's gonna be back tomorrow. Dean's still not back tomorrow, but we hope he will be soon. We're keeping Dean in our thoughts as he's got some family stuff going on. So it'll be Grinders Live tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. Myself and Tim, followed by GPP final takes with Eric and Neil. And then we got closing things down, leading us up to lock for crunch time. We got Will, we got Britt, and we have Beer. So a fun squad tomorrow. Then Chief and I at 6:40 p.m. Eastern time will catch you for the pre-lock show for NFL. Shout out to James Duran. He says this show is 100 times better than any other weekend show that's on right now. So shout out to James Duran. We appreciate your support. Thank you for your kind compliments. Smash that like button if you're on your way out. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future shows. We will see you again tomorrow morning. Tim, Taylor, I forgot to download the credits, so I'm doing that right now. Any last thoughts? Who's going to break the slate?
I will say KD.
KD, ooh.
I know this is going to be pretty chalky, but I really like Wemby to go for like over 75.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with as well, Tim. I'll go Jokic because he's actually not that chalky today. But yesterday in the expert survey, I wrote that Giannis and Wemby were going to have dueling 75-point games. And we ended up with Jokic and Wemby. We're going to have dueling 75-point games. We ended up with 80 from Jokic and 70 from Giannis. I ran it back with the exact same thing today. We're going to go Wemby and Giannis both breaking the slate once again. That'll do it for Crunch Time. Credits have downloaded. On behalf of myself, Tim, Taylor, all the RotoGrinders team, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.